Okay, I titled this talk today for 4th of July, Let Go of the Labels and You'll Find Freedom. That isn't all right, isn't it? But boy, oh boy, who would we be without labels? I've tried. As I've prepared for this talk, I have tried to drop labels. But it's just so quick to labeling people. And you know, many times I've talked because of, I have a very close experience with my daughter working with the people experiencing homelessness. Now, did you catch that I had to catch myself? Because how do we actually want to say that quickly? She works with the homeless. She works with people experiencing homelessness. My husband has a 43-year-old daughter with autism. We work, he doesn't because he's raised her, but I just came in her life 7 years ago, and to work with, I have a stepdaughter with autism, not I have an autistic stepdaughter. Okay? See the difference? But it's not easy. It is not easy. First, we are human. First, we are people. And many of us have differences. That's what makes the world go round, right? Is our differences. But first, we are human. We are human. They are human. But boy, we want to point out the differences, don't we? We want to point out that she has long hair and she has short hair. She's white, she's black. Where's Stephanie? I would say she's from Barbados, you know, we just want to label people so quickly. And I'm realizing about how many labels I've taken on in my life. I took on a label very, very young that I was not good enough. And I lived a life of never feeling good enough until about age 40. Literally. I lived from that because people, well-meaning teachers, well-meaning religious leaders enforced that in me. And you know, I always tell you, here we are, dinner table, Michael and I talking again about the talk today. And we've just been chatting back and forth all weekend. And this morning, he comes into the bathroom as I'm getting ready, and he says, you know, I have just realized that it's all religions have been the cause of labels. And I'm thinking, now you know, my husband follows more of the traditional Christianity belief system, but yet he honors where I am. And he is unity, he just doesn't even name it. You can't live with me and not, have a little of this rub off on you, right? But he was like, he just had to come in and tell me that it's religions that have put the labels on people. And I'm like, well, you know, because we were going way, way, way back in time as to when did this all start. And we've been doing it probably since before Noah. I can go on now. I'll get to that in a minute. I want to talk to you about. But I'm going to say that 254 years ago today, July 4th, 1776, the Declaration of Independence was signed, right? Okay, a line from that Declaration of Independence. People are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Do you know what inalienable means? I've said this my whole life, recited it, and I looked it up to make sure, what does that inalienable mean? It means not to be able to be taken away. How about that? I see many of you going, oh, we've recited it since we were little kids, haven't we? So, with certain inalienable rights, rights that cannot be taken away. And among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Another word for liberty is what? Freedom, right. This is a smart group today. You know, people for thousands of years, people have been searching for freedom. The Bible, Genesis all the way to the end to Revelations, people have been fighting for their freedom all the way to the end of the Bible. Starting with the story of the Garden of Eden. Once Adam and Eve got removed from there. Now I'm going to clarify that I don't know if the stories in the Bible actually happened. But what I do know is every single story has something powerful to teach me. And the Garden of Eden, to me, is one of my most powerful lessons to be learned in the story. Because I firmly believe, because it feels so right to me, that that sneaky snake that came up to talk about you could be more powerful than God if you just eat from the tree of knowledge, right? That represents ego. And we got a slippery snake talking to us all day and all night. Some of us, it's even talking in our dreams. Okay? So once we leave this garden, right, enter ego. Because they left everything that was free. And they left it, and now comes the struggle, and labels began. Because how do we label Eve? Bad. Bad girl. Don't we? Right? Because in traditional Christianity, they're going to say they sinned. Right? Sin originally means, archery term, missing the mark. Yeah, so they did sin. I sin all the time. I miss the mark a lot in my life, in my daily life. We all do, because it's part of being human. But the key is that you learn from that, missing the mark, from that sin, and you keep making better choices. I'm telling you, that's why that story means so much to me. So, the Egyptians, you think about them in the Bible, okay? They needed to enslave the Israelites. Moses gets assigned to lead them to freedom. It goes on and on, because then the Israelites start judging the Sumerians, and then the Sumerians become the enslaved group, and it goes on and on and on. They considered, each group kept considering the next group as less than, and enslaved them. And then that group finally gained power, and then what did they do? They enslaved a whole new group of people. Why is it that we are so always searching for freedom? Look at these music titles. I just want to be free. I just want to be free. We shall overcome. Born to run. Come on, some of you know these songs. Free falling. Rocking in the free world. Born free as the wind blows, right? These are music, some of these are musicals. Born free. You were born free. But the world, our well-meaning teachers, our parents, well-meaning, started putting labels on us at a very young age. I did it to my kids. I witnessed to my grandkids as well. We We're a society that apparently needs labels. I'm not making that good or bad. What I'm making a mistake with, I think, is that we then put that label on my forehead, that one, that one, that one, that one, and I walk around with all these labels all over me so that you can identify who I am. And that's not really who I am. These were labels that were well-meaning, put on me. I took them on, and the key is it time to start taking these labels off? I'm going to give you some quotes about freedom that I thought were just mine, that I loved them. This is from E.B. Michaels. I don't know who this is, but I love her quote. Listen to me, there is freedom in love. Every day should feel like Independence Day. Some birds are not meant to be caged. Their feathers are too bright. Their songs too sweet and wild. So you let them go. And the part of you knows that it was wrong to imprison them in the first place. Stephen King. There's another one here by Cahill Gibran. Many of you know that author. Life without liberty is like a body without spirit. Life without liberty is like a body without spirit. Nelson Mandela, who was imprisoned, 24 or 27 years? Right? For to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. This man, if you've not ever watched a documentary on Nelson Mandela, it is very, very powerful to watch this man full of hatred and anger and killing, ends up in prison and completely does a 180, completely turns his mind around and starts living in prison with shackles, but not treating his other inmates as if they're shackled. And then the Buddha, of course. No one outside ourselves can rule us inwardly. No one outside of you can rule you inwardly. When we know this, we become free. This is a biggie. I'm going to repeat it again. No one outside yourself can rule you inwardly. When you know this, you will become free. Why is it that we don't feel free? I found an amazing TED Talk while preparing for this talk today. And it is by an inmate at the Perryville Correctional Institution in Arizona. And her name is Dominique Goodman. And I would play this, but it's a little too long. It's like 12 minutes. But I want you to look her up. If you've got a pencil, write it down. Facebook, I believe we're putting that link out there for you. You can either find it under TED Talk. You can find it by her name. If you go to YouTube, that's a great way to watch it. That's how I found it, was on YouTube. And I just all I did was put labels. And I saw her in this orange outfit, and I was like, that's interesting. And I hit play. I have watched it 3 times. It is amazing. This strong young woman put this talk together, and she articulates it so well. But as you can see, just like me, I'm not good enough. I'm too short. I talk too much. Right? I'm overweight. Come on. What else is there? Lazy. I'm lazy. Right? Think about how many labels you stick on yourself. My hair doesn't work right. My glasses are funny. Little things that we stick another sticker on. another sticker, and then we wonder why we don't feel free. How can you walk around with all this stuff on you? Self-imposed or imposed by others, and we take it on as our truth. I think one of the biggest things that Jesus, we call this guy up here, not our Savior. We call him our master teacher. And there are many teachers in our world, past and present. And one of the things that I believe that he was trying to teach us was that not he is the Messiah the world has been waiting for. We all are the Messiahs that the world has been waiting for. If you have the Christ within you, then you have the power to be the Messiah that the world has been waiting for. That does not mean you don't go through crap. Excuse me, but that's the truth. It means you're still going to have pain. Why? Because you're human. You were brought into this world as a human being. I got to slow myself down. Because Dominique does talk about how labels disempower us. Most labels disempower us. I want to go ahead and quote something from the Buddha, because I just always resonate to that somehow, because it's about compassion and it's about mindfulness. It says, the Buddha wanted us to take ourselves as our refuge. Okay, I'm not going to gloss over that. I'm going to stop there a minute. Take ourselves as our refuge. How many of us, me included, I look for you to be my refuge. I look for my daughter to be my refuge. I look for my grandchildren, Michael. I'm always looking out there for someone to help me feel safe. What if we could take ourselves as our refuge? We can depend on ourselves and govern ourselves. When we do that, we're free. When we can reach this state, that's when we'll be released from our enslavement to greed, anger, and delusion, and truly be happy. Sandy Malloy introduced me to this book, and it is called The Book of Joy. And it is written by what do they call that? I guess kind of a ghostwriter, but it's the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu who came together in a once-in-a-lifetime event and spent a week. And this author was the privilege of being able to witness and write and just continually write their conversations, as well as selected people were able to ask them questions through the week. And I just want to tell you that it isn't about finding happiness. Happiness is fleeting. We spend a lot of money on trying to be happy. Clothes, new dress, whatever, we spend it to be happy. But these two men came together to say that happiness is not what we're after. It's joy. And joy never comes from something out there. Joy is something in here. People will say to me often, those who know a lot of my traumas and trials that I've had in my life, and they'll say, how can you still be so happy? I know many years ago people used to think she's just a facade. That's her smile and her goody two-shoes is a facade, right? But then they follow me for 5 years or 10 years and they say, oh, she's still that way, right? But they know that I've had a lot of pain in my life. And it's because once you realize that joy is within you and nobody can take that away. Nobody can take that away. The Dalai Lama was talking to Desmond Tutu and saying, they were asking each other's questions, which was really cute. So Desmond Tutu says to the Dalai Lama, you know, you were exiled from your country. Many people died as you all exited your country of Tibet. And now you are not allowed in your own country. And he said, how do you not have anger? How do you not? And he says, I don't focus on that. I focus on how well the government of China is allowing us to be here. How kind the people are who deliver us food. He focuses on those things instead of dwelling on, oh, poor us. And then the question goes back to Desmond Tutu, which he has dealt with the apartheid in Africa and watched that massacre. And part of that was Nelson Mandela, when he was a very angry man and caused a lot of upheaval because they were sick and tired of being ruled by a white government. And Desmond Tutu was all present in that as a religious Christian man. So we got a Buddhist and a Christian man. This is funny. And the author here is Jewish. And he even says, this sounds like, what is it? A Christian, a Buddhist, and a Jew walk into a bar, right? So anyway, Desmond Tutu was dealing with prostate cancer and going through surgeries, treatments, thought they had it in remission. At this time that the book was written, I want to say it was 2015, Sandy, do you know? Somewhere around there. And so the Dalai Lama says, in turn, to Desmond Tutu, what about you and all the pain and the suffering you personally have witnessed over those years in South Africa and now, and all the pain you're going through? And he goes again. He says the same thing. I don't focus on that pain. I focus on, what does this sound like? Gratitude, doesn't it? I focus on the things that are working in my life. I focus on my daughter who travels with me to make sure I'm safe. I focus, it just keeps going. I'm not even in chapter 2.5, people, because I'm reading it so slow and I read the chapter over again, because to me it's powerful. This is how, I want to say, is it the Dalai Lama or is it, I think, I'm not sure, it doesn't make any difference whether it's one or the other. They reference this to a woman having birth. Okay? Okay, those who have birthed a child, is there any joy and happiness during the birth process? No. How many of us have sworn as that is all happening and the push down, right? And you just want to say, I'm never doing this again. Never doing this again. And if there's a husband or a partner involved, you want to just smack them, right? As soon as that baby is born, this is no joke. I witnessed my daughter at the moment, the worst moment in childbirth of her first child. And she's crying and she's trying to push and she's going, what happens if I don't love this child? Because of course at that moment you want to just, right? The moment that child was born, what happens to the mother? Joy, happiness returns, doesn't it? And what about all the sleepless nights that mothers can go through? And it's a lot of times mothers, but fathers do too. I'm not taking you out of this picture of that sleepless nights with a sick child. Is your joy gone from that child? Because as soon as that child recovers, what happens? Joy returns, doesn't it? And that's what these two men were trying to say, we're going to have pain. We're going to have exiles. We're going to have people not like us. We're going to have diagnoses. You know, we're going to have labels. We're going to have labels. I'm an addict. I'm overweight. I'm blonde. I'm gay. I'm straight. I'm binary. I am whatever that is. Drop the labels. You are love. Pure and simple. You are a perfect child of God, which makes you love, which makes you whole, which makes you complete. There is nothing you have to do except own that. Own the wholeness. Own the love. Own it. Drop the labels and you will have freedom. I'm going to quote Nelson Mandela again. For to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. So my words to you are, pay attention to how often you're throwing a label on yourself, how often you're throwing a label on others. You were created to be just like this guy, right? Of these things I can do, and you can do, and even greater. Greater. So we have our personal affirmation for this week, and it was actually put together by Nicole. And is Nicole here today? Oh, I don't see her. Okay. So let's say this affirmation. This is a personal affirmation for you to carry through this week. You ready? I let go of all limiting thoughts and beliefs, and I trust that I am free and unlimited child of God. Try it again. I let go of all limiting thoughts and beliefs, and I trust that I am free and unlimited child of God. Can you really own that? It's so easy to give lip service to these affirmations, isn't it? But how is it? The more you repeat it, you'll fake it till you make it. You will. I know this because it's my own personal story when I first came here. And I learned about affirmations and the power of them. Power of them. And I thought, oh, whatever, right? It reminded me, I grew up Catholic, so it reminded me of the rosary, right? And I never knew half of that, what I was saying, but my job was to get through it, right? So sometimes I go with caution when I share stuff and ask you to repeat it. But I'm telling you, there is power in repeating positive affirmations to yourself because it's the truth of who you are. So with that, I say namaste. That the Christ presence in me truly sees and honors that Christ presence in each and every one of you. Namaste.